Good morning, colleagues. Welcome to Garden Route District Municipality and welcome to our session of the Green Energy Forum. I would say let's start with the introductions. My name is Pasmo Donge. I'm from Garden Route District Municipality and I chair this Green Energy Forum. We'll start with those that are in the council chambers here in George, then we'll then go to those that are joining virtually. Mr. Menze.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kusana Menze. Good morning, colleagues. My name is Reginald Salmons. I'm doing skills development in the Garden Road District Municipality. Apologies for Doc Flores, he won't be able to make it today. So his part, I will just fill in for him. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's Tando Gauzela. I'm from the Garden Road District Municipality. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Stijn van der Merwe. I'm from the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers in the Southern Cape.
Good morning, I'm Janke van der Merwe. I'm also from the South African Institute of Electrical Engineers.
Morning, everyone. Timothy Pillay, Disaster Management Intern at Garden Road District Municipality.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Phillips. I'm also a Disaster Management Intern at Garden Road District Municipality.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tao from Municipality. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Kai Bausnart from Sodium Energy Solution in Wilderness.
Good morning, Lindy Collins from Sedgefield, also in Solian and Sustainable Solutions.
We also have in the chambers Bonisile Desha from Garden Road District Municipality for the Secretariat of the Forum. I think then you need to now go for those that are joining virtually. Let's start with Diana.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Diana Blitz. I'm from Norway, coming from a consultant company called Norwaste. And we are working with waste in general, but also organic waste and recycling of organic waste and kind of economy, cycling economy connected to organic waste. And treating, we're going into how should it be treated and be safe for recycling. So I'm in collaboration also with Gary here, together with the Norwegian aid that has now proven some funds also for developing projects in South Africa.
Thank you, Diana. Paul, I'll just go with the list as it reflect here on my screen.
That's the best way to follow it. Good morning again, everyone. Paul Hoffman from the EDP Economic Development Partnership and project manager for the Conrad Development Partnership. And I'll explain a little bit later on when we have an opportunity. But nice to be here. Sorry I couldn't be there in person, but definitely, hopefully next time. Now that we're maskless and all those restrictions are also lifted, so hopefully we can do that.
Thank you very much, Paul. De Villiers.
Good morning, everyone. Yeah, I'm De Villiers Botha. I'm from a company called Solar Reef, but I'm also representing the solar power industry. I'm a management committee member of SATVIA, the Industry Association, and then also from GridCars, which is the electric vehicle infrastructure service provider.
Thank you, De Villiers. Gary. Gary, can you hear me?
Gary is muted.
Yeah, he's muted. He disappeared. Okay, it's fine. Maybe we'll introduce himself later. Brighton.
Good morning, colleagues. My name is Brighton Shumba. I'm from the Western Cape Department of Agriculture. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Brighton. Kanyiselo.
Good morning, everyone. I hope I'm audible. My name is Kanyiselo Kumalo. I represent HDF, which stands for Hydrogen of France. We are basically a French-based IPP that specializes in green hydrogen, and we use this to provide power. So our projects are packaged as firm generation projects, where we use the hydrogen as a medium of storage, and that effectively allows us to then produce 24/7 green baseload power. Happy to be here this morning and looking forward to the engagement. Thank you.
Sorry, colleagues, I just forgot one thing. Normally, when we do introductions, we normally request that those that are joining virtually, you just show your video quickly so that people can put the face to that voice. I don't know if Brighton and Kanye, if you are able to quickly do that, then I'll continue the introductions.
Chair, I can't at this very moment.
All right, Brighton.
All right.
Unfortunately, Chair, like I've indicated earlier on, we've put load shedding and I'm trying to use my phone as the hotspot. So the network is very, very difficult. It's actually giving me challenges. So I'm fortunate to have managed to connect here. So my apologies.
We'll forgive you for today. The more reason why we should have green energy, I think.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You can see where it's getting us to. I see Pulen.
Good morning, everybody. Shireen Pullen from the Provincial Department of Environmental Affairs. I'm representing Mr. Dani Swanepoel, who couldn't be here today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I also see Angeline.
Good morning, everyone. Angeline Naidu. I'm a HR practitioner at the training department at Garden Route District Municipality. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Angeline. I see Morne. Olivia.
Good morning. I'm Morne Olivier, Senior Manager for Electrical Services at Mossel Bay Municipality.
Thank you very much, Morne. Gary, I see you are back.
Yes, good morning, everyone, and apologies. I think we got a bit of brain freeze up in Johannesburg. It's the first of our cold snaps, so I'm struggling a bit with my connection, but I should be okay now. I've reconnected. I'm a wastewater practitioner. I'm involved with advanced anaerobic digestion, and we are supporting Canby and Norwaste in terms of developing projects across South Africa. And I think Lena has mentioned a fund from the Norwegian government agency that's been approved, and we are identifying likely candidates and possibly and hopefully can include the Garden Routes application for this. So I don't think it's on the agenda per se, Chair. We've been talking on and off about this. We've been waiting for these funds to be approved. And it sounds like that's happened now. So if maybe just under general, we can have a 2-minute opportunity to maybe just pose a next step going forward. Thank you.
That's fine, Gary. I think we'll be able to afford you that opportunity to on the program. Probably, maybe if you want to have a presentation when we send the agenda, normally the first time, just communicate with Tando so that she puts you on the on our agenda next time. But yeah, I will definitely afford you some time to share whatever you want to share with the forum.
Good, thank you, Chair.
Colleagues, our agenda then says we must then go to the opening statement. But before that, Tando, do we have any apologies?
Yes, Chair, we have a number of apologies. If you allow me, I'll go through the list. We have Mr. Monet Olivier and Mr. Pierce from CSIR. Unfortunately, he declined the meeting. I know he has a slot on the agenda. Dr. Prince Lou also apologized. Mrs. James, Ms. Lada, Mr. Makotwa, Mr. Boulder Jacobs, Mr. Harad Otto, Mr. Tanaka Shumba, Mr. Josh Dippenar, Mr. Jack Redmore, Mr. Nishan Bridge Raj, Mr. Tsikalang, Mr. and Ms. Lindsay Moyman from George. That is all from my side, Chairperson. Thank you.
That's fine. Thank you, Tando. But I think Mr. Morne is in the meeting. So that should be removed from the list of apologies. He's joining virtually. Yes. So let's go back to our program. So colleagues, that's the agenda. Before probably I do the opening statement, let's adopt that agenda. I think we must, there's a request from Kambi, from Gary. So probably he can use that slot for CSIR. So can you make that amendment to the agenda? Then you put Kambi there, and it will be Gary from Kambi. So I don't know, is there anything else you want to, I see a hand? Oh, all right, no, that's fine. Is there anything, colleagues, those joining virtually and those that are in the chambers, is there something that we need to add? Probably after Kambi, Tando, we can add Mr. Dividius to just give an update around the EVs. Is there anything else, colleagues, that you would like to add? Because we had some apologies, so there are slots if you want to make a presentation on your company or anything, you have that space now. Oh, all right, good. Stein, do you want me to add you? Because we have, I think, enough time now to accommodate new items on that agenda. Maybe to talk from the board. So we can also add, Tando, you can also add Stein there from the electrical engineers. So then you can then revise that agenda and then repost it on the screen. Colleagues, can we therefore, who can move and second for the adoption of the agenda? Move. I see Tabo is supporting, so we therefore adopt the agenda as amended. All right. Colleagues, can I then go to the opening statement while the colleagues are busy making those amendments to the agenda? They will re-flight that agenda when they've made those changes. Right, colleagues, thank you very much for making time to attend the Green Energy Forum. And as part of my opening statement as the chair, I think we find ourselves, in the same situation that has been befalling the country, especially with regards to power shortages, if we can put it nicely like that. We continue to have load shedding, and it's something that should concern everybody economically and so we continue to have that challenge, as I was saying. So my colleague was just alerting me that we have an apology from Alton. They have load shedding, so they can't connect. As I was just talking about that load shedding, we also heard that there's some load shedding currently in Cape Town. So colleagues, it's something that we find ourselves in that situation as a country, and we really need to, as a region, to try and see how do we make sure that we start to work towards addressing some of the challenges that are being brought by this load shedding. What are the local solutions that we can try to come up with, which is one of the objectives of this forum, is to share information, is to contribute to the energy security of this region, which is the Garden Route region, and to make sure that we have the best practices that can be in the space. That's why we invite, experts in the field. We invite private sector. This forum is very open. We invite people from your institutions of higher learning. We invite people from research centers like your CSIR, as you saw in the program. So we really try to get everybody into the room so that we share experiences, we exchange knowledge, we propose way forward and solutions for the Garden Route, because you would recall in 2018, Garden Route District Municipality held a Green Energy Summit, and one of the outcomes of that is that the district or the region want to be a leading region in terms of renewable energy or the green energy. So colleagues, as we try to think of solutions around that, let's also try to localize some of these solutions and see how best it can work. I know Georgia municipalities piloting wheeling, in their own grid. So it's something that people would need to see how that localized solution can it work, because what they are saying is that there might be a client this side of the town and they generate this side of the town. Then they are trying to see if that private generator of electricity can sell to this one, but wheeling through the municipality grid. So those are some of the local solutions that we are really referring to, which can probably cushion us a bit from the load shedding, while we work, for the long-term solution for the region. But of course, we are saying that solutions, if they can work here, then they must be exported to the whole country and be used to drive, the economy of this country for the betterment of everybody, creation of jobs and that. Our district mayor, in his state of the district address, that he stated that he would love to see a district that is renewable energy driven, that creates jobs through renewable energy, an economy that is renewable energy driven, and an economy that is energy secure. So those are some of my opening statements around load shedding. Then I don't know, colleagues from the municipalities and staying from your side and other colleagues, if you have seen, there's a circular, FMA circular number 118 from National Treasury that is basically creating a legal framework around the procurement of new generation energy capacity by municipalities and municipal entities. So Tando probably after this meeting, you might share with colleagues that have not get hold of that circular. So it's basically talking around procurement of new generation energy capacity by municipalities and municipal entities. So basically what they're trying to do, the purpose of that circular is to try and provide advice to municipalities and municipal entities relating to the legal framework for procurement of new generation capacity, particularly from renewable energy sources. So basically that circular is trying to address that part. I think it also relates to what I mentioned in terms of the wheeling that George is doing, and in terms of other, renewable energy projects that are being pursued by our municipalities in the region. I'm glad that this circular talks about municipal entities also, because Garden Route is in the process of establishing a municipal entity that will be tasked with power generation. So it really talks to that. So basically, municipalities, I'm sure, I know there was a letter written by City Power to DMRE to seek clarity. So they were basically, trying to make some clarity around the processes and procedures. I will not go through the whole, the whole document. We'll definitely share with everybody that they've signed in, and then people can go through all the documentation that relates to this circular. Then the last part of my statement relates to, it basically relates to the international news or the international, what is happening internationally in terms of renewable energy, in terms of the energy space. You see that during the COPAC summit, there was a commitment by the international community to probably invest in South Africa's renewable energy by 8-point-something billion US dollars, which basically works to something like 136 billion. But there haven't been much movement around that, and the team was in the country to try and see where can they, move in terms of that. But interestingly, those who follow news, you have also realized that Russia has reduced the supplies of gas to EU. And with that, Germany and Austria, they are reactivating their coal generating plants. So it's something very interesting that we are trying to pursue this renewable energy, but we have this, so those are some of the dynamics that are happening in the space that probably colleagues will need to be in touch with that, so that at least when we talk about these localized, solutions, we are aware of what is happening. And with those fossil fuel generation, they guarantee supply. That's one thing that is still lacking, I think, with your renewable energy, the consistent, and that. I know there have been development of storage capacity and that. There are other technologies like hydrogen, but we haven't got there where we can really say, let's eliminate coal, let's eliminate this other fossil fuel, let's eliminate diesel, or all that. Yeah. So these are some of the insights I wanted to share with the forum in terms of what is happening internationally, locally, and how do we fit in as Garden Route in the bigger scheme of things. So colleagues, with those few statements, I would like to thank you. And if there are any comments on that, or probably some people who want to amplify that, or probably share other things that they think might benefit the forum, please feel free. Then we can go to the next item, which will be item number 4. But I'll give a few minutes to get any additions or. please let me know if there's anybody with a hand on the virtual space. Any comments? Any additions? You can also subtract. All right. Thank you very much, colleagues. Let's then go to item number 4 on the agenda, which basically talks to the minutes of the previous meeting. These minutes were shared. The minutes were shared, with the members, and we had that meeting on the 24th of February. You can share the minutes so that we can probably go through that. And I normally prefer to go to the resolution, but just go through each page. So those were the members that were in attendance. Yeah, that's fine. I proceed. And those were the apologies. That was my opening statements. We did not have much to talk about last time. We then approved the minutes of the previous meeting that was in December. Then there was a presentation from the skills maker. The skills maker, it's called Garden Route Skills Maker for new members. The skills maker, what it seeks to achieve is to make sure that we have the skills that are required in the garden route. So it tries to make sure that we address the skills gap. But I know Regis, Reginald from Garden Route sitting there, you touch on that during their presentations around the skills maker and how do they see the skills maker fitting into the bigger, green energy space through this, the just energy transition and all that. So that's how the skills maker fits in. But you can see they are intending to take about 15 young people for solar mounting training and solar installation. So that's how the skills maker is trying to, aid in the work of the Green Energy Forum and also in the green energy space. Then there were feedbacks from the municipalities. I know it was Bito, it was George. We also heard from Mossel Bay. Then there were apologies from the other, from the other municipalities. Then we also had an update because there's what we call the Garden Route Growth and Development Strategy. So this strategy have different pillars. Pillar number 1, I think it's renewable energy or sustainable energy. Then you have water, you have public transport, you have, Mr. Menze, you correct me if I forget something now. I know we have renewable energy or energy security, we have water, we have public transport, circular economy, and sustainable living. So those are the pillars of the, what do you call this? Those are the pillars of the growth and development strategy of the Garden Route District Municipality. It's a 40-year plan. So if you want to access that document, it's accessible on our website. You go on our website, you go to documents, you access that document for just for you to, to get a big understanding of what that document seeks to achieve. So one of those pillars is around that energy security and renewable energy. So that's where power comes in. It's around that growth and development strategy and the recovery plan post COVID-19. Then we then looked at the SSG and the implementation thereof. Then there was also a presentation from CSIR. They've now concluded that energy master plan. And yesterday it was approved by the Garden Route District Municipality. So it's now a public document from today. So we have an energy master plan that was done by CSIR for the region. So it basically covers all the municipalities. And then there were general where I actually gave an update in terms of where we are around the establishment of the Garden Route Power Company, which will be a municipal entity tasked with energy generation and ensuring that there's energy security in the region. Yeah, then we talked about bulk supply and those things. But yeah, those were the minutes, colleagues. Those who were in the meeting, are there any corrections or any additions that the Secretariat missed that we can probably add? I know Tabo was in the meeting, Wills was in the meeting, I know De Villiers was in the meeting, Paul was in the meeting. Those were in the meeting, and even those that joined now, if you see some errors on that on the minutes, please do indicate so that we correct that before we adopt. All right, in the absence of any corrections or additions, can I have somebody who can propose for the adoption of those minutes and the second that?
Apologies, Chair. I think just on what I did there, the presentation or the feedback I gave, it's jobs fund at the end and not JOS fund applications.
Okay.
That's a small thing, but yeah, just to fix.
Correct there, it's a spelling error there, JOS.
Yeah. I don't know who's Joss, but we can, you know, could be a person that we don't know, but that's 100%. Otherwise, I'm happy, and if you want, I can also then recommend that we accept the meeting after minutes.
Can I have a proposal and a second? Yeah, Tabo is proposing. Those are the ones that were in the meeting. Paul?
Yeah, well.
Considering that you have just made some correction there, I would assume that you second that, and colleagues, so the minutes are with those corrections. Thank you very much. Let them go to item number 5 on the agenda, which is green energy projects. Normally on this one, for those that joined today, we give our local municipalities an opportunity to present what kind of projects that they are doing in their local space, those that they have already implemented, new projects that they are working on, but specifically focusing on renewable energy. Because we are a green energy forum, so we basically concentrate on that. So here we give our local municipalities that opportunity to present, and the private sector and other stakeholders, you know, to interact and get some clarity and probably suggest if they can do it otherwise and any other challenges, and then we try to engage. I'm trying to explain so that at least the newcomers can, you know, get an idea of why this item. Having said that, I saw there's, I will start with you, Marne, to give the most of their feedback. Then I will then give to Tabo. I don't know if there are other colleagues from other municipalities that have joined, but for now I see those two. If Marne can go first, then we will engage. Then after that, we'll then have Tabo from George. The floor is yours, Marne. Thanks.
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, our feedback is just normally just a summary of the latest the numbers for the applications and approvals. So for Mossel Bay Municipality, SCCG applications that we've received so far is 101, of which 97 have been approved so far. Installations that have been commissioned already are standing at 56, and there are 18 of those that have supplemental contracts to feed back into the grid, where we buy back their energy, the excess energy. The total installed capacity at the moment of SCCG installations is just short of 2.4 MVA. It's 2375 kVA. And then just just on another topic, our SSEG policy, we are looking to revise it slightly in line with the developments in terms of the capacity that is allowed. So we are looking to take an item to council to revise our upper limit from 1 MVA to 3 MVA for now. And the 3 MVA was picked solely on basis of OSH Act regulations in terms of responsible persons and so on. So that is what we're taking to council because there is already an application in for a installation larger than 1 MVA. But at this stage, we can't approve it until we've changed our policy, and then we can approve it in terms of our the policy itself. So that's all from my side.
Thanks for me. I just wanted to check in terms of I know at one moment you advertised around the renewable energy on wastewater treatment plants and your wastewater and the water treatment works. How far is that? If you can probably just give a brief around that, and also maybe the municipal resilience energy program. I know most of them is a participant also. You can probably just share with the meeting on those two. Thanks.
Yes, thanks, Chair. In terms of the first item we referred to, the 1 MVA installations for at the wastewater treatment works, we are that whole process got stuck in some legal issues. I might have mentioned it on previous occasions, and as I understand, it has been cancelled now, or might be in the final stages of having it cancelled. And then we will be, within the next couple of weeks or the next couple of months, going out on a revised version of that tender, where now also obviously we can push up the upper limit of those. And then we will, as previously, identify potential areas where these installations can go, and then put out a tender for what is essentially an IPP type of installation, because we do not want to take ownership of the plant, but the tender is solely for allowing someone to put up a plant and then entering into a long-term agreement to purchase power from them. And then for the MER project, with the funding from province side, last time I mentioned that we are having a electrical master plan redone and also a cost of supply study. The cost of supply study is nearly complete. They're putting the final touches to the report. It is due for submission by the end of the week. So that's progressed quite far. But the master plan is still, I think there's another 2 months to go, and then that will also be complete. And those inputs will obviously be used in, or especially the master plan inputs will be used with on the tender that we want to put out, because we need information on the grid access points that will come from the master plan when we put out the tender for renewable energy plants. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Manu. Colleagues, that is the update from Mosa Bay municipality and the opportunities that are there. It's quite interesting that you guys want to increase your capacity in terms of your SSEG. But I'll give the meeting an opportunity to probably engage you more and questions and comments, colleagues.
Thank you very much. I just want to establish something quickly from the side of Mossel Bay. In light of the electrical energy master plan, which was prepared for Garden Route, I do believe that there was extensive consultation done with all the municipalities, including Mossel Bay as well. I don't want to say necessarily to save costs or whatsoever, but have they interrogated the findings of the CSIR, because they had a regional perspective into the master plan and the localized one based on the inputs and what they found from the municipalities when they were visiting them to try and get some information before writing the final report. So whether does it in any way or other addresses some of their concerns or some of their challenges, and then whether what they intend on reviewing on their master plan, is it not going to replicate what has already been done? Thank you.
Yes, Marne, do you want to attempt to respond to that? I will also add, I think.
Chairman, yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not exactly clear on what the question is. But okay, I caught the last part about our the master plan. We're redoing the master plan specifically for the analysis that it gives us in terms of where the bottlenecks in our own network are and what the potential places in the network are where we can connect additional capacity and at what capacity that it is possible to connect. So that's why that is important to us. And we're going to use that information for the new tender. Maybe you can just clarify again what the first part of the question was. Then I can try to answer.
I think Marnie, you clarified. I think it was around that. I think you did clarify his question around. Is it not a duplication of the work that is already done by CSIR? But I think you are very specific in terms of what you really want these guys to look at. So I think the answer should suffice. So I think, yeah, that one is covered. Any questions, any further questions to Mossel Bay?
Yeah, sorry if I can just add, yeah, that was one of the requirements coming out of the MER program as well, is that, the instruction to consultants doing the master plans was specifically to look at connection points for renewable energy. So that's been incorporated into the project scope for the master plan. So it is something very specific that we require from them.
Thanks. I think that's very clear now. I don't know. Are there any other comments, colleagues? Tabo, do you want to? All right. All right. Welcome, De Villiers. You want to? All right. There's another question from one of your private guys from Mossel Bay, Marne.
I'm Mornay De Villiers Botha. Mornay, could you enlighten us about the wheeling frameworks? Because we know Cape Town is running the pilot. How is Mossel Bay coming about with wheeling? Because that's the next thing, and let's speak to that. It's about metering and offsets and all of those.
Morning, De Villiers. Yeah, as you know, Mossel Bay country doesn't have a wheeling tariff or a wheeling policy. But that was one of the instructions to the as part of the master plan study is that we look at wheeling models and how we how we can incorporate that. So at the moment it's not on our tariff list. You won't see it there, but we are definitely looking because yeah, we've had inquiries about it, so it must be on the way sometime. We are definitely working on it.
I think that's covered. De Villiers, do you want to comment with regards to your EVs and Mossel Bay, since we are already?
Yeah, so we plugged in quite a big kettle there at Langeberg Mall, Morné. You would have known about the charge point going in there. Luckily, it's coupled, as I mentioned earlier, before the meeting started, to the reticulation of the mall. So and the mall we know already has a 1.3 kilowatt peak, which is a 1 MVA solar system. So at least when the sun shines and someone charges, there is at least an offset. So we can't say it's just drawing on the grid and increasing load shedding. And then the mall is also expanding on their, or they actually have an application in for expanding their solar system there too. So yes, the charge point has now been commissioned at the mall. It is as I mentioned, it's one of the 4 only in South Africa. There's only 4 of those size chargers which can do 150 kilowatt capacity at this stage. And currently it's branded Audi. So Audi is part of the rollout for that for the next 3 years. And then, yeah, it came to the garden route. You guys might have known that we've had in the past, we've had the charger at Knysna, Garden Route Mall in George, and then also the next one would have been Riversdale. And now this completes the route. So it just fills up into very nicely.
Thank you, De Villiers. We gave you a slot to expand on that. I just wanted you to probably just, since we were already discussing Mossel Bay. Colleagues, in the absence of any other questions, I see we have Nezi from Bito. Am I correct, Tando? Nezi from Bito joined there. Yeah, so Nezi, welcome. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, good day. Thank you, Pasmo. I'm Nezi Swakakata, a superintendent in electrical planning, Bito Municipality.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much and welcome. Do you have a question? Oh, I also have a colleague from George Municipality. Please introduce yourself.
Morning, everyone. Pielo Ramtamai from George Municipality.
Your friend Stan is here today. Right. I will hand over to Tabo now to do the George Municipality update.
Thank you, Pasmo. So basically on the George Municipal side, we is continuing with applications and approving those for CG. So at this stage, we received just below 10 MVA. Far away, is it better now? Okay. Okay, good. Yeah, just basically to go back slightly to that point. So we're receiving and approving SSCG applications in George, and we have just below 10 MVA already connected to our municipal grid. And also we've now undertaken, we started with the civic center, undertaken to put up solar PV plants for our own self-consumption at municipal buildings. So we've commissioned the civic center and now we're moving to other municipal buildings and facilities such as wastewater treatment plants and services building as well. So for some, we're actually going to okay. So basically for the civic center, we had a 300 kilowatt PV installation, and the whole idea was to try and reduce as much energy bill from the civic center by using the energy generated from the solar PV. And we're doing pilot right now. We've been purchasing some excess and equipment to the grid to supply the neighboring areas. So for the wastewater treatment plants, those are such big. So we basically put in for our wastewater treatment plant, putting two solar PV plants. So one would be a 400 kilowatt solar PV plant, and the other would be a 100 kilowatt PV plant with the wide wastewater treatment plant. So there is basically just to also reduce the energy bill. We basically not taking the facilities. We have not incorporated battery storage for the facilities as well. We just incorporating battery storage for the small land municipal buildings, electricity facilities in the metropolis building. So to move away from, to try and have a flow change, have to use the energy generators. So that's basically it. Self-consumption solar PV plants. We're also looking at businesses that to put up, let's say, 8 MVA solar PV plant that's going to hold the power, but that's still in feasibility stages. And then we also obviously now permit wheeling, and so we successfully completed a wheeling pilot project. I think Philip has done a big job. Our wheeling plant is now operational. Last month, we actually did the first wheeling. So and now we set up a wheeling tariff that's in place, and then we now allow any other company that wants to approach the municipality and discuss how we can work with them. And then we now also beginning the process of trying to set up processes and procedures to procure from IPPs. Getting help from the sun, they have been on municipalities, so participating in that, looking to procure from IPPs. So once we have those processes set up, and then we've got also we are part of the NER fund as well, so that we started to update our master plan and to also do some studies on the impacts of renewables. Yeah, that's basically it.
Thanks. Colleagues, are there any questions, comments that can, any clarity that you would require from George Municipality?
No, it's just a comment, Chair, because there was a question posed to Mosobe with regards to the wheeling tariff. I think it was posed by the gentleman. If I got that right, because now if George have advanced, and then now is there any information sharing in terms of Mosobe as well, following the same route, because we are all in the same district. If there is better lessons learned or that one can extrapolate from one municipality, I think the forums of its nature is to exchange information and also try and improve whatever offering that municipality has, and then the other municipalities. So I think that the gentleman from Mosobe can actually check up with George and so that to try and improve as well, so that they are not left behind in other municipalities across our area. It's just that comment. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Menz. I think that's the whole essence of the forum. Most of them don't have to reinvent the wheel. They've already done it. Maybe they just need to take it from there and probably improve, or maybe they can take it as it is. because they are more or less similar municipalities. But yeah, that's the whole idea. That's the whole essence of the forum, and that's the whole essence of having. We are one garden route basically, one plan, one everything. So, Marne, probably what you indicated that you are starting working on, maybe here is a starting point from George.
Noted.
Thanks, Marne. Colleagues, any other questions, comments? Yes, looks like the presenters are very good and people really, but I have some, I think one table. The IPP processes that you are starting, working around. What kind of power generation are you looking at? The sizes that you probably need from these IPPs.
Okay. So that's going to be informed by the studies that we're currently doing on the impact of our universe and that the maximum maximum demand is 85 people. So we're probably looking at that in the series of like 5 to 10 MPa plants.
I hope this will cover Union there. There's always a tendency of forgetting the other side that is still George municipality also. Yes, and I think you are better placed for your solar that side because of the conditions compared to this side. So you are basically looking not, I mean, different types of renewable, I guess. That study is looking at that, be it hydrogen, solar, and it will be a mix.
Yes, basically we're looking at any mix that we can find. So the whole objective in like maybe the next 10 years or so is to try and move away from export. So because we get export.
Yeah, that's very ambitious. It's good. It's good. But yeah, let's see how it pans out. Let's see what the studies are going to say. I know the CSIR have indicated that it's very difficult at this stage too, but 10 years, maybe a lot would have changed. But also that this study will definitely inform. There's a hand.
I did want to ask what kind of technologies you're looking at. So if you're doing your assessment, your investigation on investigation, but your review of the energy, which type of renewable energies, obviously you need to do the assessment beforehand, so you can assess which energy would be the best, because George isn't actually the best for solar PV. I mean, so I'm just interested to know which technology you are going to follow, and maybe to keep an eye on it and follow up on the progress. So just where we can see the progress of this report.
Tabo, I see a lot of people saying they can hardly hear you. Probably try to put your chair and then be a bit closer. Yes, and yes.
Oh, okay, cool. Is it better now? Okay, cool. Yeah, so we basically at this stage, because it's easy to build and operate a solar PV plant. So most of the energy that we need to procure from the solar PV systems, but we can also looking to explore from wind farms as well and biogas plants as well. So it depends on what the IPPs will propose. Basically, let's see if you can.
All right. Thank you very much. We apologize for those who could not hear Tabo, but probably we can quickly summarize because I was taking notes here. So basically, the bigger thing is that George municipality now have a wheeling tariff. It's now in place, they can implement it. The other thing is that they have now embarked or they have started a process of looking into procuring from IPPs, and it will be an energy mix, different technologies. So that study that they are carrying out is going to inform what types of technologies can be looked at, but their bigger objective is to probably in 10 years be off the grid. I think those are the major highlights around that. Then there was a question around it was technology basically, and he basically responded to say the IPPs will propose also, you know, sometimes if you think you can do wind here and somebody says, yeah, but I can actually do hydrogen cheaper and give you the energy cheaper, then so be it. So that's what Tabo was basically saying, colleagues that are joining virtually. I hope I managed to summarize it well. I thought you were going to touch, Tabo, on the funding that you got from DMRI.
So the funding was in the 2021-2022 financial year, and that's what we used to build the civic center solar PV plant. What we got this year was a very small amount. It was 2.5 million, and we'll be using most of that to replace, to retrofit our CFL lights in street lights with LEDs.
All right, thanks. Any other questions, colleagues? I like it when I have new members that really engage, you know. Yes, as State.
So I can also ask questions to Tabo. Just maybe also some background. Yeah, didn't touch on it, but George Municipality did a energy master plan a number of years ago, which was initial CSIR report that was done for within the district. And I think that the work that the CSIR did now was a follow-up from the work that they started back then. So I think the question is just that master plan was quite a nice long-term plan of how to move to the best case scenario for energy usage. So is that being followed? And then just the recollection that I had from the master plan was not to go off grid. So just maybe just to have a little bit more information on the reasoning to go, is the reasoning to go off grid or just to be most of the time energy independent of ESCOM?
Thanks, Stan, for the question. So basically, the master plan that the CSIR did is now still also the integrated resource plan, still now being incorporated into the study that's being done currently by GLS. So they've got access to the master plan, and we're also making reference to that. We are continuing to do that as well ourselves. And with regards to the second part of the question, we basically the whole objective to try and move from ESCOM so that we are get load shedding. So if any way we can possibly do that. So one thing we're actually looking at is basically to say, if we can get a continuous, maybe like 10 MVA connected to our municipal grid, continuous 24-hour basis, then we can go to ESCOM and negotiate that we now cannot switch us off during load shedding because we now supply part of our energy. So those are basically the ideas that we're trying to explore. Yeah, in the future.
Thank you very much. I hope the guys from private sector that are joining, this is very interesting information coming from George. To say, if you're in a position to give us 10 MVA continuously, consistently, then they can easily avoid load shedding. Obviously, you need to discuss that further and unpack that, but that's basically one opportunity that this load shedding presents. But remember, when you do this in Garden Route, it's not only that you have avoided load shedding, you have saved some jobs, you have kept the economy running. You know, there are a lot of spin-offs that come out of that intervention. So we look forward to people probably, pursuing some of these opportunities that get presented. I don't know, there's a hand I see Bongani Manga. Am I correct? Yes. It's Bongani.
No, this, response to acknowledgement. Thank you.
Sorry, sir. Couldn't you hear?
Hi, Chair. No, I was not saying it was not a hand, Chair. It was just a thumbs up in your response around the additional items you are raising in terms of spin-offs to the current routes from an economical perspective. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Mangla. Can I then take this opportunity to ask you to introduce yourself? I know you. We haven't met, but I know. But probably for the benefit of the meeting, if you can introduce yourself, that would be great.
All right. No, thank you, Chair. My name is Bongani Mandla, the Director for Electrotechnical Services in George Municipality. Thank you. I'm just currently out on site at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mangla. Colleagues, I don't know, is there another comments or questions to George Municipality before we move to the next? Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know if I'm 100% right here. But I've been hearing a lot of the comments are made about load shedding and ESCOM, and to me, I feel that moving towards green energy is going to do it with coal and not to avoid load shedding. So it's nothing against ESCOM, surely the world's been supplied with coal and all those things, but we're trying to move away from these non-renewable resources. I just wanted to find out, is load shedding the main drive to move towards green energy?
Sorry. I remember in my opening statement, I referred to the Green Energy Summit that was held by Garden Road District Municipality in 2018. So the idea is to have the region being more greener. Load shedding comes, and we have to discuss it because it's a matter at hand and which is causing a lot of chaos. But the bigger picture is to have a greener garden route that uses clean energy. That's why there are even proposals to have your Go George powered by hydrogen, your public transport system. These strides that they are doing, like for example, the system that they put at the civic center, it was not really to avoid load shedding, but to have green energy and also reduce, the reliance on your coal and that other fossil fuel powered energy. But in the same space, you can see the SSEG program basically accept green energy into, it's only green energy, am I correct, Abo? It's only green energy that they accept as part of the SSEG program. And then Garden Route also, like I indicated earlier, that we are in the process of establishing this municipal entity because by Section 84 of the Municipal Structures Act empowers district and metros to generate electricity and distribute to the municipalities in their jurisdiction. And I indicated that we want to only focus on green energy. So the bigger picture is around green energy, green buildings, smart cities. That's the bigger picture. The load shedding, obviously, because it's a problem that is there. It keeps, even people who could not join, they complained about load shedding. That's why probably the word is coming out more frequently, but it's nothing to do. I mean, it has to cover that. I don't know, Tao, if you want to add something.
No, I think you've pretty much covered it.
But let me thank you for that question because it keeps us on track. As the Green Energy Forum, where should our focus be? But yeah, thank you very much for that. It was very important that you raised that, and we refocus and keep on track in terms of the objectives of this forum. Colleagues, in the absence of any other questions, can I then ask Nezi from BITO to give an update in terms of the green energy projects and the SSEG in their municipality?
Thank you, Pasmo. Unfortunately, we have a load shedding and I'm using my phone, so I don't have documents with me, but we are continuing receiving applications for the SSEGs, the biggest being 600 kVA that we have approved, 440 and 150 kVA. Others are just domestic applications. From the municipal side, we are still working in having our own system as well, but it's still in the planning process. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I don't know, colleagues, are there any comments? That was a very, very brief update. I don't know if there are any comments or questions to BITO. Do we have a charging system in BITO?
I know there's a new one in Craigs, but I think that's slightly outside of BITO.
Yes, Craigs is ESCOM supply area.
All right, thank you very much. I don't know, Tando, do we have any other colleague from the B municipalities? Because in the absence of that, I'll then move to item 6.
Yes, Chairperson, that's all the municipalities that presented. We have.
Thank you, colleagues. Let's move to item number 6. And on item number 6, there's a skills maker. I referred to this earlier, and the Just Energy Transition Survey. So what happened is our garden route skills maker, they did a survey in terms of the skills that are required, to try and align with your Just Energy Transition. Right now, I don't know if you have a presentation or you just want to talk from your laptop, or if you have a presentation, then the guys you can share. And then
thank you, Chairperson. I earlier mentioned that Dr. Flores was not available for today, so I'm standing in for him. Now, in terms of the feedback, my role is basically just to give feedback in terms of the JET survey. I'm not sure, you've mentioned earlier there's new members. Maybe they want to know what is the skills maker about. I can maybe just give a short background in terms of that also. Okay, I think maybe let me start off just to emphasize what is the skills maker. I'm just trying to share quickly. Okay, so I still have a government computer, so it's a bit slow. I'm just trying to. Okay, colleagues, while this computer is taking its own time to put it on PowerPoint presentation, but anyways, the garden skills maker, colleagues, is a concept that basically relates. You'll see now on the second slide where it all started. But in the name itself, it says a garden road skills maker. Now, the concept, what we want to reinforce, what we basically want to establish also is to make the garden road district basically a skills maker for skills development. So everyone must come here and not just come here and enjoy our beaches and our nice environment. They also need to come here to basically come and study and learn. So we want to be a maker for that. Now you will see there's a patent pending. We hope to make the skills maker concept, basically to patronize it, to have it as original project for a product from the garden route. And then when other people want to use it, they must first pay us to use it. Then colleagues, in terms of the journey, when Dr. Flores normally starts with the slide, he asks, where were you 2017? If you all still remember, there was this big fire that happened in Naisna during June 2017. Then after that, there was an intervention from the national government, provincial government, but basically the provincial government then had various working groups to try and assist Naisna to get them back on track again. So there was about 7 work streams that has been formed. Then the number 7, the last one, was basically a skills forum or skills working stream. Now, in terms of the working stream, we were there then to basically do a survey on what skills is in Naisna. There's a lot of gas houses that burn down. How can we reskill those people to give them alternative options for work? Then 2017 December, the premier basically liked the project, and then they asked, how can we also assist other municipalities? So what we did, 2017, we've basically got a green light to host a Garden Route skills, not forum, skills conference basically. January 2018, we had a forum, the first of its sort within, not a forum, a conference with the first of its sort within the Garden Route. Various municipalities were here. We have national role players. We had also provincial role players. And then we had a second conference in 2019, still by. Then you will see there is our very known friend, Corona, 2020. We've planned basically a third conference. However, during that week, the disaster struck during March 2020. We all went into shutdown, lockdown, and all the downs that we had to endure during that time. So we couldn't have a third summit, basically, or conference. So after that, last year, 2021, we've then appointed the Garden Skills Mecca coordinator, which is Dr. Flores at the state, to basically assist us to institutionalize this concept of Garden Skills Mecca. Now, at the last summit conference that we had, there were certain resolutions taken that how can we establish this concept within the area. I'm not going to go through all of them, but we are basically working from those in terms of those resolutions that has been taken. Okay, then if I can quickly go to the next slide. Now, the slide looks very busy. As you can see, I'm sure there was colleagues that went through this presentation before. But what is this slide basically saying is that this is how are we going to assist basically with the district development model. How will we as a MECA then also assist with the one plan? If you look at the bottom there, we've mentioned earlier the growth and development strategy that is there. How will we as a Garden Route skills MECA assist that? Now there are certain goals, 2023, short-term, medium, that we talk about 2030, and then we talk about long-term goals that will take us up to 2040, basically. Now, the idea is that we basically establish the skills MECA, which will then basically on the left-hand side, we will find there's a funding strategy that we employ currently. There's no funding from the skills MECA itself. We do engage with donors. We do engage with the various seaters, with various partners to assist with the training. In terms of that, we have then framework agreements. We currently have a system where we have a panel of service providers that we've invited to add the names. If you want to train, for instance, a specific space, you can then be part of that panel of providers. So should we have funding then from an institution, then you can also then benefit from that process. Then we do summits, indabas, and resolution that we've taken at the summits on the top left. Okay, so then just in short, colleagues, we have task teams and we have a forum basically that that also then further assist. Similar to this forum, we do have a forum that is also open to private providers. It's open to our government providers. So all of that. At that forums, we then discuss training interventions. How will we then assist the forums? You will see now the slide that will follow this one, where we are also involved in. Now, in terms of these, this ladies that is depicted now in the slide, we want to. We are currently busy with a project with the PCETA, where we will place students within each of the B municipalities to assist with our concept implementation. Colleagues, the slide that I want to get to basically is this one. I think it's very relevant for this forum today. Now, in terms of the GDS clustering and drivers, you will find on the left-hand side, I think the chairperson spoke about it earlier, the priority areas, for instance, circular economy. Then there's a driver, and then there's a proposed cluster name for this. But now, in terms of this, I think the second priority area, sustainable local energy transition, green energy forum. Now, this is where you guys come in. Earlier, I did listen to the presentations from the various municipalities, and what's a bit scary in all of those presentations, we don't mention any training, we don't mention skills development, we don't mention those interventions. So within all of this, on the slide, with all of those clusters, our role, our job is basically to enable these clusters. Energy, clean energy, and all of that is still fairly new to most of us. And you can just imagine that there's a lot of skills development that needs to happen in this space. So if there's any skills need from this forum, if there's any skills need from the municipalities, private providers that you guys can bring or maybe suggest or propose, we then from our side go out in the field and we then develop a proposal which we then submit to the various institutions. While I was sitting here, there was a EWCETA proposal or memorandum of understanding that came through on my computer. So we had a meeting earlier during May with the EWCETA, which is mainly responsible for energy and water within our space. They are willing to partner with us. They have indicated that there might be possible funding available for us in terms of that. So this is important, colleagues, that I just mentioned that. I think the rest of it, I'm not going to go into depth. It's just that we cover this area, all 7 local municipalities. In terms of how we operate, like I've mentioned, we do report to the DCF. It's a district council forum for where all your mayors are sitting. We do also then report to the municipal management forum, and then in that cloud, if you can see the green cloud, we do all the projects, and we have the forum and we have the MECA task teams. And then at the local level, we do from our section within the municipality, we do support it. On your right hand side, we'll just see that the various levels of engagement that we have. We have local endowments where we go to each municipality area, where we engage in terms of skills need for them. We do have then the summits, the district summits that we have every 2 years. And then on the national level, we from time to time then engage our national partners also in terms of that. So colleagues, that's in short just the concept of the Garden Road Skills Mecca and why I was sitting at this forum. Maybe if I can continue, Chairperson, in terms of the JET survey, if I can maybe just say that part also. Or should I take questions now? Or is there any questions? I'm not sure. Okay.
No, just saying you can continue, then we engage, after the 2 presentations, because they're more or less related, yeah.
Okay, colleagues, I'm quickly just going to the link to the JET survey. Now, the JET survey has been conducted by our communication department, which then sent the survey out basically to all role players within the space of of clean energy. Just want to quickly share. Okay, so at the last meeting, I think the chairperson have mentioned, we've identified a skills program where we can train young people, potentially 15 young people in solar mounter installer and then solar farm technician training. So that's the first kickoff. We've got funding from this particular source in terms of that. We can start with that. However, what we've wanted to do because of our engagement with the services sector, because of our engagement with the service sector, they want to know what is the needs that is currently within the Garden Road. What is the skills needs that is here. Now, obviously, everyone talk about solar panels and we talk about clean energy, but do we have the necessary skill or the right skill for that? Now, this is what we want to determine by this by doing this survey. So, Doc Flores have requested me to again come back to this forum and beg the colleagues to spread this the survey as far as possible and to also participate in this. If I can quickly just go in, that says the Garden Road Skills Maker is in the process of developing a project framework to participate in the Just Energy Transition Program. The program aims to enable the transformation to a decarbonized economy with significant impact on employment and qualification needs on the job market. So this is basically it. You just click on the link basically, and it will take you to the survey, and then you complete the survey online. It won't take you even more than 10 minutes or 5 minutes. Complete that. We'll get the information. If I can just indicate to you quickly the information that we received. Some of this. Okay. I've indicated that the survey was it ran for about basically 2 months. However, the results, I just want to quickly go to the results. Then you can quickly see what's happening in terms of the response. Just open that. Okay. I have a few things open, so let me just close most of them. Colleagues, while I'm opening this, basically there's about 9 companies that responded in terms of this. In that, it's George Tourism, Kanaland Municipality, Garden Road District Municipality, Sky Studio, the Bisha Energy, it's basically the respondents in terms of this. Now, I've indicated, colleagues, that it was this survey was then sent around for about, like I've mentioned, basically 2 months. So our request is that you guys, in the space of clean energy, send this to your relevant stakeholders to complete, and then we'll have a complete update in terms of the result of this. So at the next meeting, I'm not sure when is the next meeting, we will then have an updated list of what type of training has been indicated from industry, and then what type of proposals or what proposals we can start working on, or what if we started already working on. So that's just in short, Chairperson. I'm not sure if I'm clear. My apologies for having some struggle with the technology, but this is what Dr. Flores have asked me to present. If there's any questions, if it is difficult, I'll refer back to him, but if I can answer, I'll answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Reggie. I think I was more clear, but let's give the colleagues an opportunity to engage your presentations, comments, questions. Yes, please go ahead.
I'm the one talking a lot here. So it's actually it's not a comment, but more of a suggestion almost. I'd love to fill in your survey. I mean, very interesting. I just honestly feel that the private sector has kind of like overhauled the market. You know, there's a lot of solar PV installers, and there might not be jobs available for them at the end of the day. You know, you can only install so many solar panels. So I have read a report recently from the national government where they were talking about EPCs, and that there weren't enough people to actually roll out the program. So that's maybe a suggestion.
We really, encourage engagement here. So the more you engage, the more you really, I'm trying to find the proper English word to praise you. The platform is to engage. And the more we engage, the more we get clarity, the more we can, it's no use having these presentations and nobody comments, and it seems like maybe we are just doing this to some tick box kind of an exercise. So feel free to engage even during the presentation. If you feel that you forget, you can ask, can you just talk, man, can you clarify this, because I might forget later on. Yeah. So please, colleagues, those that are joining online and those that are in the chambers, feel free to engage anytime. Yes.
Hi, I just want to find out, one of the legs is circular economy. Under it, you had health and environmental services, if I remember correctly. Can you explain to me on the health part, but also why is waste management not under your circular economy leg? Procurement should be there as well, but waste management is probably the biggest one.
Sorry, Reggie, if I can come in and assist there. There is a presentation that is going to come. Actually, waste management is under circular economy, but I know Paul is going to do a presentation. So probably you can hold that question until Paul did the presentation, then we can address it. I don't know, Ms. Menze, do you want to add something? Okay, sure, thanks. Actually, the owners of that document, the growth and strategy, where he picked those things, it's basically under him as the executive manager for planning and economic development, and it was developed by Western Cape Economic Development Partnership, where Paul is coming from. So I'm sure Paul, when he did his presentation, when he does his presentation, he will cover that. If he doesn't, then we can probably engage again on that. There was a hand, but I can't see it now here. It was from?
It was from me, Chair.
Yes, please go ahead, can you?
To Mr. Salmons, I guess I wanted to commend the work that they're doing so far, and maybe get a sense of what is the current thinking with renewable energy skills that South Africa isn't currently engaged with. So for instance, we specialize in hydrogen, and this is an area where we foresee a need for skills. And I just wanted to get a sense if there had been any form of work scoping out the skill space on that frontier. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Reggie, you can.
Yes, thank you very much, colleague, for the kind words. Look, in terms of the work that we are doing, we're not bound to at this stage. We're not bound to any limitation. Basically, what we want. This is why we are here. This forum. If there's a need that comes from this forum, if there's a need coming from the circular economy cluster, if there's a need coming from the water security future cluster, we engage them in terms of that. You guys can just guide us, maybe direct us, like for instance, the colleague earlier, if now direct us to EPC training that we need to have a look at. So we are basically guided by the industry, we're guided by this type of forums. So once you guys have identified that need, we do the enabling part by drafting the proposals and submitting it to them, the relevant funding authorities, so that we can have them the necessary funding. Again, if you guys then say it's better to start maybe in the Batu area with the training, we then bound to then start with that area first. So we are guided basically by industry, by this forum. But thank you very much for that question. But if need be, we can also have an offline discussion that we can then further engage in terms of the particular need that you've just mentioned. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. I'm covered.
Do you have a follow-up, Kanye?
No, I'm covered, Chair.
All right, thanks.
I think you'd recall, Mr. Summers, on the 17th, we had the energy water SETA, the CEO present in one of our monthly meetings, and part of their comments, or I would call it outcry, in the sense that the sector contribution to the SETA, because they are a SETA that gets funded by national government to address some of the skills gap in water and energy space. And I think the CEO, when she made a presentation, said that of the employers in the Western Cape, about 44% submit their WSPs, and 20 or 30% pay their levies. And then so there is an appetite on the side of government to address some of the skills that may be needed. But now also the sector contribution is actually quite essential to ensure that they address some of the challenges that are faced. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are no any other hands. Can I therefore move to the next item on the agenda? And did you flag the revised agenda? But I know it was Paul. Yeah, so it's Paul, then Gary, then Porter, then Stein. So Paul, please go ahead. I don't know if you want to share the presentation or your screen.
Yeah, I would like to share it, Jay. Thank you, if it's possible.
Give you access. Thanks.
Thank you. Good morning again, everyone. And yeah, so I think hopefully we can answer some of the questions that came up earlier. Hope you can see the screen there with a couple of circles and triangles and ones and twos. Can you see it, Pasmo?
Yes, we can see that. Yeah.
Okay. So again, maybe like Reggie had to do just a brief little recap, and I think the Sandra also referred to that to Pasmo in your early discussions. The GRDM adopted a growth and development strategy with 7 priority areas, and those are the well-being and resilience, tourism, agriculture, energy transition, water secure future, circular economy, and connected economy. And I'll talk a bit about that later on. And so over the period up until now, and you'll remember last time when we spoke that we were busy putting together a governance structure. If I say we, it's the greater GRDM, not only the district, but also obviously including ourselves and some other stakeholders, including the JDMA. And now for our private sector colleagues, that's the joint district and metro approach that's being adopted from a national level where they're talking about the district development model. It's all targeted. Maybe don't fear too much about that, but what it ends up being is that there's a closer collaboration at all levels between all spheres of government and private sector eventually. So depending on the projects and depending on the clusters. So I think the GRDM was actually maybe slightly ahead of the pack in that regard with the concepts that we brought up. And the JDMA is very evident in the approach that we also wanted to take to say, listen, we need to do that working together thing. And within the clusters, and you'll also remember from last time those that attended that your forum that you're currently sitting in on the energy forum is already a cluster in its own way. So there's maybe slight name changes and maybe slightly a different approach in the process that you're following currently. So the idea is to identify projects and activities which you have, and also report back on that, and again talk across government spheres and across private sector spheres to actually implement. And this is the main thing that we want to try and get to now, is the implementation. And again, some clusters are further ahead than the others, but we want to get them all on the same page, like roughly in the next 2 or 3 weeks from now. So we're planning a workshop or a series of workshops from the 11th to the 15th of July with all the cluster people, and start working on an, let's call it a generic. I always don't like that word so much because I think it will be fairly customized per cluster, but we want to use the same approach generically when we start looking at the implementation plan. So we're way down the road now since we last spoke. So obviously, just very quickly back. So we're looking at a bottom-up approach as well to say, listen, where does the work actually happen? And it happens in the clusters. It happens in this implementation sphere here, so that we get to that point. And yes, you might rightly say, listen, we've been starting to implement things, and again, it's great, but not all the clusters are in that specific zone at the moment. But I think as a general comment, I need to commend the Conrad District Municipality and all the other B municipalities and yourselves on the fact that I think we're actually far away along on most of that anyway. And this model eventually can become, because the JDMA likes it, and through the representative from the Department of Local Government and SALGA and all those organizations within government, they've accepted this model as well. So I think we're in good state there, and we're in good hands. So yeah, so when we talk about the clusters very briefly, so and again, those are the 7 that we're talking about. Obviously, within the well-being and resilience will be included things like health, equality, environment, human settlements, those kind of things. So that's going to be quite a bulky cluster. But again, within each of these clusters, we can actually start breaking it down into different activities and concentrate on the things that need to happen. Just to interrupt myself as well, within the growth and development strategy, within the recovery plan, and within the JDMA plan, there are already a list of identified projects and identified activities which will form the backbone of the discussions when we go into the implementation plan. And then add, when we sit, let's say, for instance, with the energy cluster, if there's already projects that's on the go, add them to this and take off ones that are definitely never going to happen. Remember, this plan was written about a year ago, so there could definitely be changes and definitely be advancements in some instances, and others that may definitely not work in future that we may just as well can. So that's going to be part of that workshop discussions we're going to have. So some of you will get invitations to that, so please try and attend. I think we've got you on for the Thursday, which should be the 14th, but I'll confirm through Passmore, and you'll definitely get an invite anyway for those that need to be there. Tourism is self-explanatory. Agriculture does include agri-processing. And again, interrupting myself, you will find that some of these clusters do overlap a little bit here and there as well. So there could be agri-tourism, for instance, that can sit in either the tourism cluster or the agri-cluster. And it's also very important that from a overarching and overseeing perspective, that we look at where those interactions take place, where does a certain cluster need to do certain things before the next cluster can actually implement. So that will happen on the ground as we speak. Okay, at this point, we're calling this cluster the local energy transition cluster, which is a little bit wider than just the green economy. So when we talk about energy, it does include things like oil and gas, but there's already a separate forum running on that, and that will continue to run separately. But we would like to have a closer synergy with perhaps this cluster to see where we're talking about not only green economy, but ensuring that we look at alternative energy resources, perhaps than just purely green. Water secure future, obviously that goes without saying as well. And I think Passmore, you started mentioning desalination at some point. And yeah, so we need to look at how does this interlink with the various clusters again, and it does have a big influence on agriculture. And this can actually run together at some point. In circular, quite rightly included, there is waste management. That's what it's all about at the end. And then also waste water management as well. So that whole thing that happens at our wastewater treatment plants can become part of the circular economy, but also have an influence, depending on what comes out of it, on the energy transition cluster as well. So if we're talking about biogas, or we're talking about something that can be converted into electricity, for sure, that link need to be there. So again, you can see the interactiveness can take place. And then the last one is our connected economy, which actually is also quite a wide one. If we're talking about that, it's not ICT or IoT only. It's about a whole ecosystem within our transport as well. So that includes our road, our rail, our sea, our air, local internal travels, and everything else, and ICT, obviously, connectivity to what we're currently busy doing, getting ourselves to be able to accommodate hybrid meetings like this, for instance. So that's also quite a wide one, but I think it's very critical that we do understand that there's some influences from some of these clusters on that, and vice versa. It will have a big influence on tourism. And what happens currently at the moment, what we found is that, for instance, some of our agricultural companies are complaining about the roads that's not so great. So, and then that have an influence on fruit going out, for instance, from the more rural areas to get exported, that they can be damaged on the road. So we need to look at that very carefully for the region to become a competitive region, for the region to become a leader. Smart cities and smart work. If we talk about smart cities, it's a wide concept, but I think smart thinking can come in across all of these. And you will find that skills and a couple of other clusters or forums will be cross-cutting through all of them. So skills are not obviously excluded here, but they are sort of across everything, and I'll tell you where they fit in just now. So so this is now the separate clusters. They report back into a just newly formed, it's about now 3 weeks old, if I'm not mistaken, a GRDM technical steercom, where Lusanda himself will be chairing together with us at the EDP, and I'll talk about who's going to sit on those things. But for instance, all these cluster chairs will be represented there to enable us to follow the implementation process, but also where the cross-cluster interaction need to take place. Sorry, also just in this case, we see the worker bees here. So that will be, for instance, the guys on the call currently, which we have now from all our municipalities, and the private sector and other stakeholders, the West Coast of the world, the Green Capes of the world, the CSRs, those kind of guys will be sitting on this level, working on the implementation plans. The steercom will be literally there to be interactive between the clusters and getting back into our strategic steercom, where the budgets and things need to be approved, and through this process, hopefully already pick up in advance what must be budgeted for and what must be taken into consideration. And where this link back to this GRDM intergovernmental team, if we do need support from national government, provincial government, local government, district government, and other agencies, that we can actually address it here, all through these two committees, with the interaction of that interface team, which is already geared up to do and help us with the processes. As I said, they're quite happy with what we're doing here, to ensure that there's that synergy process that takes place between everything. So there was mention about the one plan. Eventually, all this will become the one plan, I guess, if we can implement it correctly, so that we have a focused approach as a district, and not have silos running through anymore. And I think that came out of the meeting quite a lot now. So, and then obviously we still need that full-blown approval right at district council forums or council meetings and the municipal council meetings. So for the municipalities, we're doing a little roadshow just before that, sessions on the workshop. So we will definitely be inviting you guys as well to that meeting, just to update you a little bit more. This is very quickly now today, just to give you more structure there. Now, what's sitting over here is what we call the GRDM Advisory Forum. It's actually a business chamber forum now. They came together, all 16, 17 chambers across the region, and they formed a GRDM business forum. So that name will change now after their formation. So we see them strategically and technically interacting with government from a business overall business perspective. Remember, the individual businesses will be here, but over here we were talking about the representative business organizations in our region that got together. Just very quickly on, and I'm not going to go through all these guys now. So just on the implementation clusters, what we typically see is that for the moment, obviously the cluster chairs will be identified. And for instance, where Passmore is now the chairperson, if that is acceptable by the group, that will continue like that. Obviously, the cluster will appoint a secretariat, which will maybe, and at this point in time, again, it is a district municipality representatives, will be sitting in and advise and support and actually look at that bigger picture where things do get connected. So it will be the implementation of the activities prioritized by the technical steercom and then by yourselves. So there will be an up and down negotiation in the beginning. Okay, I know you're meeting more than monthly now because you're quite settled, but we see most of the other implementation clusters meeting monthly until they're a bit more into a rhythm that can then change to bi-monthly or even quarterly. We'll see how that goes. That regional collaboration will take place, and then obviously reporting bi-monthly to the technical steercom on progress. And there's a list of people. I mean, you've got most of them already in your system here. So we've got sorry, where am I now? Yeah, I'm here. So basically the cluster chairpersons, which will be like, for instance, Passmore at this point in time, the municipality officials, private sector representation, other priority focused clusters that's needed at certain points. Academia, where it's possible, civil society, national, provincial government agencies, like you have already with Green Cape, CSR, and then obviously the skills makeup technicians will be sitting here. Now at this level, and I'll just quickly go back, here the skills maker will be represented to ensure that things take place as per the requirements of the clusters. And in this level here, we will probably find our CFOs, our chief financial officers, as a collective to look at budgets and how we can actually combine budgets taking the region forward. Yeah, I think, let me stop there, Passmore. I think that will give us a good idea from the expectations going forward. And that, yeah, as I said, this committee has been formed now, the technical steercom, chaired by the Sanda. And then what we will do is, once we've now gone through all the clusters, which is going to be completed by the end of the 14th, 15th of July, obviously we will work with the clusters going forward. And then we'll run it over the 6-7 months from now to see how we change things. It is a model that's accepted, but it's also a model that's changeable as we progress, because we don't know what we will find when we really start with it. So what we're actually saying with this, Chair, is that economic development is not only for LED, it's for everybody in the municipality. It's for everybody that's involved from a private sector side, other governmental representation, other agencies, so that sometimes we do see that, and I'm using the examples here, for instance, that the colleagues on the call from the municipalities can understand also that the bigger role they play to make sure that we have an enabling environment for development and for growth on an economic basis as well, by doing what they're doing in their various departments. So one of the other key factors that we do see is that a lot, and it's already happening, it's very prevalent in this specific forum currently, is that a lot of these things are needed to be driven by private sector and supported by government, and ensuring that interaction takes place at the level where it makes sense. So yeah, a lot of words. Hopefully it made some sense. But just be sort of ready, guys, from the municipalities, Passmore and some other colleagues to be invited to those workshops, where we will definitely appreciate it for you to be there to actually give inputs. Listen, I don't know if you want to add something that I may have forgotten based on what we've just said.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you very much for that presentation. Mr. Menze is indicating that he's covered. You covered everything. Colleagues, those who want to interrupt the presentation, I don't know if you were covered, Paul, or if you covered here in terms of the circular economy, It seems like you did cover that question that was there. I was now looking at my new friend to throw one question she doesn't want apparently. Anything, De Villiers, colleagues online?
Quite happy if there's uncertainty, especially from the municipalities or maybe even some of the other government agencies, to do this offline with them as well on a separate basis. As I said, we will be doing a roadshow in the week just before that with all the municipalities. So speak to your LED manager, please, if you haven't been invited by them yet, to find out which is the dates and the time. So we'll be coming around to each and every municipality in the week of the 4th to ensure that we again take this deeper into the system and not just that it doesn't become a surprise when we're sitting on and invite you to a cluster meeting workshop in that week of the 11th. So just check with your LED manager if you don't mind, please.
Thank you very much, Paul. I'm sure colleagues from the municipalities will execute as requested. Colleagues, thank you very much. Let's go to the next presenter. It was Gary, you had requested that you need a few minutes, just a few minutes to quickly share something. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. And if I can just put the presentation back up on the screen, so I will share my screen and hopefully that will work. I'm very excited on what I've heard from Paul, because some of the technologies that I've come across certainly cut across various activities within the municipalities, and this is another classic example, I guess. So hopefully you can see my screen.
Yes, please proceed. Thanks.
Okay, let me just minimize that. So this presentation's around optimizing biogas through anaerobic digestion. And it's really come a long way. We've been talking to the district municipality for a little while now. And it really started around 2018, I think, when we met with the Southern Cape Economic Partnership and Paul in particular at a Africa Utilities conference that was hosted in Cape Town at the time. And that very quickly overflowed into further engagement on the realization that the district and the municipalities are already responding to the need for climate action responses, and the Green Energy Summit that's been referenced quite a few times this morning. And so we take a lot of comfort out of the fact that the district municipality is certainly driving this, and the local municipalities seem to be contributing and shaping up and realizing the opportunities in trying to process and do something better. And so that started with this engagement with Paul. It led to Innovation Norway, which is the Norwegian government's extension to introduce technologies and innovative solutions from Norway across the globe where they operate. And very quickly, a memorandum of understanding was put in place after a study to a trip to Norway, which was undertaken in 2019, of which the Garden District Municipality was represented. And so we identified the possibility of looking at establishing a regional biogas center through digestion. And we're very pleased to, at this stage, and I've got Norwaste on a slide here, and I'll let Lena introduce Norwaste as you read the content of this. But Norwaste have now been asked to lead a study based on funding from the Norwegian government to complete the study, and that's through the NORAD. That's the donor agency that provides funds for these sorts of studies. So Lena, if you don't mind, just a couple of minutes introducing Norwaste and building on the slide that I put together for you.
Yeah, thank you, Gary. Yes, Norwaste is a consulting company based in Norway, but we have experience in especially the use of the fertilizer and the digestate after anaerobic digestion, and all the kind of pros and cons connected to a facility that treat organic waste in general. But Norwaste is it's a waste consultant company, so we are also working with plastic waste and other kind of municipal waste, and also waste from food industry as well. So hygienic treatment, and also when it comes to pollutions control and things like that, that we are addressing any kind of hazards connected to these waste streams. So, and I know visited Garden Route and Neisner in March this year, and I have kind of got a very, very brief kind of grip of what kind of production and what kind of challenges you have regarding these waste streams, from sludge to maybe also household waste, especially the organic fractions and garden waste. So all these kind of waste streams that may be treated and turned into biogas that can be utilized either as energy for vehicles or energy for electricity or heat. So I'm really happy to kind of be a part of a team that maybe can give a project and a solution to these topics in the Garden Route district.
Thanks, Lena. So, Chair, if I can just use this opportunity to maybe introduce the concept and what we're looking at, and for those that are not familiar with a wastewater treatment plant, typically that's what you see on the screen. But the fundamental associated with a biological wastewater treatment plant, or any water treatment facility for that matter, is the separation of solids and liquids. So all your sewage treatment plants across the district will be producing not only a clean effluent under certain conditions and standards, but also producing a sludge that needs to be managed and disposed of. And so that's a more classic, complete picture of both the liquid stream and the solid stream. And so there's some risks associated with the organic waste. And if it's not managed adequately, you can end up with major issues with smell and odor, which attracts flies, which will also then disperse potential diseases arising out of that sludge from the bacteria that are still present there. It is tied up in legislation in South Africa. It is managed through the Department of Water and Sanitation, and it is captured in the National Water Act. And so your individual wastewater treatment plants would have licenses issued, and it should be covered in there and addressed in that. And so the technology is starting to look at how can we move from this typical application that we find across South Africa these days in terms of sludge management and practices, because we need to have a fundamental or actually a paradigm shift away from what's becoming a normal practice to go into best practice, applying circular economy approaches, etc., all the things that we've touched on earlier. Because this is in effect non-compliant to our standards in any event, and so there's going to be a need to respond. The green drop, for those of you that are involved in the water and wastewater practices across your municipalities, will be aware of the blue drop and green drop processes, and they've now been kick-started again, and so this will be taken up in those round of audits very soon, if they haven't already in the first restart or re-implementation of green drop. And there's a couple of drivers that this touches. It's certainly going to, the advanced anaerobic digestion will address that compliant issue in terms of your sludge qualities. It's going to produce additional biogas, which can offset electricity shortages, not just the load shedding, but certainly, again, a major shift away from using fossil fuel-based electricity to green energy or renewable energy. It certainly addresses commitments to programs like the C40 action groups, while none of the cities and municipalities within Garden Route are there. You can see some of our larger metros are active C40 city participants. and we're hoping that that will be delivered back to South Africa and across the rest of our areas. We know there's a looming ban on organics to landfill, and the Western Cape government is certainly driving that, and they've announced their intentions already to start asking for a diversion of organics. And so this process presents those solutions to some of these challenges that you might that you are facing, in fact. And thermal hydrolysis, which is this advanced anaerobic digestion, is in essence a pressure cooker. And so what we would do, if we look at this analogy, we take potatoes, I guess, and if we pressure cook them, we can turn that into a nice soup that we can eat readily, and so our systems can digest that. From a organic waste point of view, and I've just used sewage sludge here, but it could be anything, any organics or combination of organics. If we pressure cook that and feed it through that same digester, what we can get is a really usable product at the end of the day, and we produce that additional biogas that I mentioned. And so this is a typical case of a solution that is going to cut across some of these key activities that you've mentioned. So it doesn't fit firmly and squarely only in your green energy sites, but it's going to touch on other activities as well. So I'm very excited about that. But of course, that adds some complexity to engaging with stakeholders on this going forward. And so that's a conventional digestion process that you may come across, well, that's implemented across wastewater treatment systems. And what the advanced anaerobic digestion process provides is a pre-digestion step. We pressure cook the material in this THP, and it results in additional biogas up to 40% more. And it also produces this material that can go straight to application, typically on agriculture. From a biogas point of view, and if you want to focus a bit on that, there are various configurations that we can come up with. And depending on where we can fit this thing, we can extract maximum biogas if that's the key driver. And so you can see the indication of at least 20 to 40, 50% additional biogas that can be produced if we use advanced anaerobic digestion relative to what you got going now. And if you're scratching your heads around a digester, you've got one at your Gwang wastewater treatment works in George. I think there should be one up at Oudtshoorn in Oudtshoorn, somewhere around. Yes, I think there's one in Oudtshoorn. I don't think there are many others, but that surplus sludge that the other plants are producing, we can feed through this mix and produce the outputs. And this is just flashing through some of the references that Canby have established. They've done 70, close to 80 odd projects globally over the last 20 years. So it's not a new technology that needs to be trialed. It works. We've got one reference in South Africa at this stage. Sasol have used it in Secunda to treat their real nasty biological waste that comes out of their industrial process. But this is a classic example in Oslo, the capital of Norway, where you can see the biogas is being utilized to actually fuel buses. And so that's set up to power a fleet of 130, 140 odd buses for the city and for their commuters. And so with an eye on that, we know that George's Go bus system that's been set up recently could be a potential benefactor from this biogas as well. So it's not just the small electricity driven vehicles, but we can drive other transport vehicles as well. This is just another example of a co-digestion. So that's typically what we would be looking at for garden route. And in this application, there's fish and a couple of other food wastes that have been co-digested. I like this reference. This is in Holland, and the water company there has actually renamed their sewage plant an energy factory. I think it's quite apt because they are producing a hell of a lot of energy at some benefit both to the environment and from a financial point of view in terms of their operations, etc., etc. So there's a whole lot of benefit associated with this. You can see from the slide the carbon footprint impact that this beneficiated material will have. Again, we will include all of this in the study. From a direct wastewater application point of view, there are definite reductions in carbon footprint that we can demonstrate. This slide just indicates that. I'm not going through all the detail now because we haven't got the time to. This is just to put it in place to present to you what's coming in terms of the study. And again, cutting across the various activities, we're definitely going to beneficiate the material to be used for agricultural applications and turning the soils into something that's going to increase crop production, etc., etc. And so really just to cap off, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity again. Circular economy is what Cambi's process is all about. It touches a whole lot of the sustainable development goals, and we're looking forward to now with the NORAD grant that's been approved, and it's taken a bit longer than what we anticipated from that initial March orientation visit that Lena mentioned. There was some internal reviews on their structures and budget allocations, but I think we're now in a position to start formally engaging with Norwaste. Myself personally is going to back that up from a local presence point of view. And so I will be engaging with the various municipalities quite soon, hopefully, Chair, through the guidance and support of the district municipality to start accessing some of the information, both on the sewage side of things and the organic waste that are potentially going to landfill now, that we can start looking at diverting to start helping meet those expectations from the Western Cape government's objectives that they're setting. So very briefly and quickly, thank you very much. And we will be following up outside of this meeting because, as you mentioned, it's not quite the right forum, but I think it's relevant, and it's relevant for the participants from all parties sitting in on this forum to just be aware of the project. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Gary. That was a very colorful presentation. I even forgot that you are talking about waste. Colleagues, let me give you an opportunity to engage the presentation. Then questions, comments, my friend. Yes, please.
Can we please get ours designed to look like the one in the Netherlands? It's very pretty.
You want that one for Garden Road?
I think that will be the objective at the end of the day, is to really turn the centre into something that's attractive. Maybe what I forgot to mention on the presentation as well is that there are other Norwegian agencies involved that can potentially participate, and one of them is around skills development. So I think I might have flashed past that too quickly on the screen, but there's a Norwegian agency called NOREC, and they provide grant funds for skills development and knowledge transfer. And so this technology is still not readily available in South Africa. It's not easy to get onto the Secunda footprint to work there. And so we will explore an opportunity for skills transfer of nominated identified operators to potentially go overseas and work 6 months on one of these things, bring that back, and then look at the SME type opportunities post the digestion in terms of that interface with the agricultural sector and the interface in terms of the biogas utilization. That will all be identified and directed through the study that Norwaste and Lena in particular is going to drive in terms of looking at those post-digestion economic opportunities, small business opportunities. And I think, Paul, you may direct some of that through our earlier discussions, etc., and with this more recent development that you've mentioned.
Thank you very much, Gary. My colleagues, Reggie, please seize that opportunity for that grant funding for skills development. I think you can start to see some of the spin-offs from the forum immediately. Some of them, they are very, very, very short term. They are not only short term, but very, very short term. So colleagues, for maybe you did not probably give much background, Gary, to this project. Colleagues, let me just amplify it a bit. We were approached by Norway, Innovation Norway, and the Kambi as the district municipality, and they wanted to partner with us, to try and reduce. The first issue that we wanted to address was around the sludge, and it's a big problem with all our municipalities. Disposal of sludge. If they can't put it in ponds, they then have to take it to Cape Town currently. So you can imagine the cost implications of that. They then said they have a solution that can convert that sludge to biogas, and then the other byproducts of that can be used for agriculture fertilizer and that and that. We then coined a project called Garden Route Sludge to Energy, and the identified site for that is the Huang wastewater treatment works. Reason being it's central because their model works on a 60 kilometer radius. So it gives 60 kilometers from Neisner, 60 kilometers from Mossel Bay, 60 kilometers from Otton. So because they wanted quite some amount of that sludge. So then George became the preferred location for that. So that's the background to this project. So we basically called it Sludge to Energy project. So we then signed the MOU that he referred to. So there are studies that they are working on in terms of feasibility and that. But the idea is that once they start to generate energy from that, then the part of the energy is used to power the wastewater treatment works. And if there is excess, then it can probably go into the grid, which is very nice now with the willing tariffs and all those things in place for Georgia municipality. So that's the summary of that project. And then they then brought in people like Diana from the plastic waste recycling, but I think you really summed up the idea around the circular economy, taking care of all the different waste types. So I just wanted to add that, Gary, and probably we need to have a follow-up session so that at least the next time we report here, we also report in terms of what are we doing in terms of the MOU that was signed between Innovation Norway and Garden Route District Municipality. Of course, Garden Route representing its 7 municipalities. Remember, the bigger plan is 1 district, 1 plan. Thank you. I will then hand over to Mr. De Villiers.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Or good afternoon. I'll also try and share my screen now. Yeah, there we go. Okay, now, thank you very much, Chair. Yeah, I think Reginald, Gary, and Paul, after your sessions and coming to mind, we can rename today as the Green Jobs Day rather than the Green Energy Day. As I was listening, I put together a few pictures. I like to speak to pictures, just to give some feedback on recent developments. It's good to be back in physical form. The developments of the last 2 years and the learnings we had from a few things and events that occurred. So I've just put some slides together of 2 national or international conferences that I presented on earlier this year, just to give some perspective of what job opportunities are out there and what we should do. But I think the essence of it is that we should get out of the boardrooms, literally, as well. Get on site and build these plants. The more we talk, nothing's going to happen. Roll up our sleeves and build it. So firstly, regarding the electric vehicle manufacturing in South Africa, I think we've all learned of the need to do that. Everyone speaks about it. That's what all those clippings are about. But we still today does not have an electric vehicle factory in South Africa. What has, however, happened is that Kenya and Ghana, who didn't have any vehicle manufacturing infrastructure, has actually jumped the gun, and they now have EV manufacturers in those countries. Now, currently, the ICE manufacturing, that's the internal combustion engine manufacturing in South Africa, has 110,000 people employed across the value chain, and it affects the impact is about to about 1.5 million people. What didn't assist in our attractability for international OEMs coming to South Africa was last year's unrest. So we should really avoid that. We know how close it was to the fact that Toyota might have said they want to exit Durban, and we know how big and how important they are for Durban. Another concern, and I used an example, and it's not only saying that BMW is the only EV, it's just to use an example. In Roslyn and Pretoria, we manufacture, as we say, we, South Africa, we've got a factory that manufactures the X3 BMW for the right-hand drive market. The iX3, the electric version, is on the right. You can see it's got exactly the same lights, exactly the same wiper, exactly the same little shark fin on top. They are built in China. We might have already missed that opportunity. So it is really something where we, as a country, it's not about only government or public or private sector, it's about us all. We need to take hands and work together to make us attractive. And through, as I mentioned, through actions like the unrest we had, which could have affected it, does not assist in it. So that's just the future. We need to look at manufacturing, getting those jobs, retaining those jobs, because we know, just having this morning looked at the Norway example, those of you might not have heard before we started, we just spoke briefly, that in Norway, more than half of the vehicles for the last 3 years, the new vehicles purchased were electric, full electric vehicles, not even plug-in hybrids. So that is really where the world could go to. Yes, we know we will always track behind, and it's perhaps always a good thing, sometimes a good thing, that us being far away from Europe always track behind them and take their learnings and not make the same mistakes. We've seen that in the energy space as well. So just an update on the network, the current infrastructure network. The current map there, moreover, shows you the DC charges. The ones that aren't there yet is in Mossel Bay and Crags that I mentioned earlier. They are part of the latest Audi rollout. Audi having it now early this year, launching their vehicles in the next 2 weeks officially. So the chargers are Audi branded as well as Jaguar branded now at the moment. And then you also have BMW that invested. In the next few months, we will see some other OEMs coming as well. Kia is in the final stages of preparing to their launch. We know that Ford is also anticipating, and at least the good part of that is that Ford has invested in their Silverton factory in Pretoria, largely regarding renewable energy, but also updating their plant for the new Ford Ranger models that's going to come. We foresee that one of those models will be electric as well in the near future. Then to touch on what Gary showed, and Gary, I love your picture much more with the poop branding on the bus. And I think, and I'll get to a cosmos, or as we call it, a symphony of energy just now, is to say that there is space for all these technologies. It's not only about solar, not only about diesel or biogas. It's really, we need a symphony of all these energies to bring electricity together. So what has happened is that already in Cape Town, Golden Arrow is piloting 2 electric buses. I passed Go George this morning depot. The time I passed them, the buses were parked there already. So we know that the buses, moreover, the biggest traffic is during peak hours. That's also the peak consumption, electricity consumption hours. So the buses are generally parked during the night, obviously, when we have off-peak and low consumption, and during the day when we have standard and lower than peak energy consumption. So the use of, or the commuter base and use of our bus services immediately translates into moving into electric buses, which you can charge during off-peak times, which will also stabilize the grids. Not only are the distributor level grids going to be happy, but your national grids are also going to be more happy. So that's something to look at. And then obviously, I'll get to the alternative energy shortly. So that's something we can really look at. The study is there. What I know from Golden Arrow is not shy to share information and what comes out of that. They've already shared it with large agricultural businesses in Limpopo to look at the last mile, almost extraction from their citrus fields, what the orchards, to the pack houses to electrify that. So there's really a lot going on in the heavy vehicle space also in electrifying that. Then perhaps getting to the symphony of energies. This is a system that was built for a shopping mall in Joburg, and I just want to showcase this as to what is possible. I listened to what we spoke earlier about load shedding and how green can load shedding be or not. So I'll perhaps show you this, and that's why I included this. I call this the Lego block. I think the likes of the electrical engineers here would love this. I mean, they would have played Lego when they were a small store, and I call this our Lego block. So this is in a shopping mall. It's the distribution board bringing the symphony of energies together. So in this instance, we have a 500 kVA municipal supply, and that's all that we could get on that site. We then had to opt for diesel generators at the moment. Hopefully, Gary, in the future, we'll make them biogas generators also. And I'll show you a graph now of how those generators are utilized. Important perhaps for the purposes of the grid operators in the room, those are synchronous generators. So the purpose of them are to synchronize with the grid. And this has been done with City Power in Johannesburg on board as well. Then we have the battery energy storage, 500 kVA capability there, as well as our energy management system that brings together the mixture of energies. There is some grid type PV also. So the battery storage has about 660 kVA PV, and then the grid type part is 440. So that was still under the old Schedule 2 when we were limited to a megawatt. In fact, just now in this week, there's another megawatt commissioned on that site, taking it to 2 megawatt. So Mossel Bay, now you mentioned you are upgrading your policies. It's welcomed and it's been done. So you can also speak to the Joburg City Powers about that. But at the end, the possible load that you could draw is a 1,700 kVA. But that is not, that's if you add them all together. But what we effectively do here is that we aim for 1,200 kVA. If I recall correctly from the discussion I had with Stein many years ago, is that a town like Uniondale would be able to be supplied completely by 1,200 kVA. So although a shopping mall is a monster and this might seem small, you can just think that a whole town could be supplied by this. And if we then say that we replace the diesel generators in this instance with biogas, then we can see we can get away with much smaller municipal supply for that town, as an example. This is just a day in the life of that system. The red is the diesel, and that was the two sawtooths, I'd say, in that graph were load shedding incidents. And then the blue is what was drawn from the grid. As I've said, the grid can only deliver 500 kVA. So the purpose of the system is to, yes, avoid load shedding, but also apply the solar, apply the battery, and then keep the grid within its limitation. So you can see the grid, whenever the grid was available, it was a stable grid that this system delivered. The load is the black line on top, and the battery charge, state of charge, is the green line. So you can see how the battery is being charged and discharged. Now, being Joburg, this was a day with a thunderstorm, load shedding, and clouds. So it was really the perfect storm day. Yeah. The beauty of it, though, is, and that's what we're speaking about, jobs. So, yes, vehicle manufacturing, we know there are jobs. We need to build these factories, we need to be attractive. Otherwise, we're going to lose those to the rest of Africa and to China. And what we just need to consider on the renewable energy side, the solar side, as you all know, we're a few hats moving to the energy side. The PV module manufacturing plant, the likes of SunPower that we had in Cape Town, Solar Direct, and all those factories, Jinko, that's all closed down due to the intermittency of the REAP program, employed 60 or had 60 permanent jobs. That's what they created. An inverter factory creates 10 permanent jobs. That's the factory of SMA that they had in Cape Town. So while they were producing, they had 10 permanent jobs. So as we said, the skills that we're looking at in regional, as you've touched on, is really those skills getting out and rather saying, do we need to build factories where we can employ 60 people? We need 10 factories to employ 600 people. Or are we going to upskill these people to really go into the field, execute these projects and build them, and then see where the numbers are? But just by example, this mall that was built in that instance, apart from the jobs that were created in maintaining the solar system, which aren't that many in town, but at least during construction, we had 30 people on site. The point is that in that mall, there's now a Checkers, there's the Woolies, there's the Food Lovers Market, some restaurants, there's security guards, there's maintenance people, and everyone on board. And in that one shopping center, there were 595 direct permanent jobs. So we should really look at all the opportunities around that. We need not only say we need to skill the technicians to become a solar panel mounter or installer or being electrically employed, but to look at the opportunity that we create through building these plants, expanding our networks. Yeah, that's just the point. That's why I said today might be jobs day then. So yeah, thank you.
All right, thanks. It's always refreshing, and heartwarming each time you get a session of the Green Energy Forum. It gives you some hope to live every time. When everything seems like it's falling apart, it gives you some hope that there's still something that can be done. Thank you very much, De Villiers, for that presentation. I don't know if you want to say.
Apologies. I forgot something very important, and that's something we have to understand, is that the municipalities in this room, the distributors, you have a very valuable asset, and it's not going to cost you anything. It's your networks, those networks. The private sector, and the Premier and I were in a forum 2 weeks ago today, yesterday, 2 weeks ago, we were in a forum exactly where we had this discussion, is that the municipality should not forget how valuable their networks are. And what the municipality should remember is they need not invest themselves and go look at the funds to build it. They should bring the policy about. That's why my question was about wheeling, for those that doesn't have wheeling policies yet, and work with industry. One of our jobs in SAPVIA, in the Industry Association, is to come with SALGA and AMEU and the others to assist municipalities in writing the wheeling frameworks, in getting these opportunities out. And then the privates are going to build it, and you're going to facilitate it. And the revenues, the simple principle that I want to use, I'm not sure about George's tariff exactly. I think I checked that once. But in Joburg, the easy one is to say Joburg's margin on Megaflex is 33 cents. The wheeling tariff is blended at 38 cents. There's 5 cents profit for Joburg in wheeling, but that 38 cents makes sense for private producers to connect to the grid and wheel power. So, and you need not do anything, just facilitate almost the meters and computer systems to facilitate that, and the privates will come and build it. Thank you.
Thanks. I so wish our big municipalities can take these meetings seriously and benefit from this. I mean, there's a wealth of information that flow through this platform. Thank you very much, De Villiers. I wanted to give colleagues, those who want to comment, questions, anything else on this presentation.
I don't know, because I think partially the question I had, because I wanted to check maybe the state of readiness outside of the municipalities. I know in one meeting you were home, I checked, and we brought that to the attention of the municipal managers, was around the tariff. You mentioned that, because every time I listen to your presentation, I learned something new time and again. Now, I don't know whether the municipalities have gravitated towards having a tariff for EV in their structure, so that they can benefit from this, because they use their network, and as you indicated, but I think we are missing it somehow. I don't know whether there's been any progress with that.
Yeah, I think being an EV driver for 4 years now, having done 102,000 Ks, I can tell you about the habits of an EV driver. And I'll gladly charge my car at night if there was a tariff. And it's simply a tariff. Well, I make it easier to sound than it is. You guys who's done the tariff applications will know better. If you could introduce a time of use residential tariff for EV users, and then obviously we know with the buses, and that could be a different story. It'll immediately get people to drive, to charge the EVs during the night, for example. And I just want to get to the numbers, perhaps. Currently in Mossel Bay, I pay R2.48, including that, until the end of this month. If I charge from the grid, in other words, not from my solar system at home, but I charge from the grid, my expense per kilometer translates to 42 cents per kilometer. Now, giving you that perspective, if we take a Toyota Hilux, which returns 10 kilometers to a liter today, at 24 Rand a kilometer, it's at R2.40 per kilometer. That's what your fuel costs. My fuel cost me 42 cents from that. That's a R2.48. Now, let's say the council now says they're going to introduce a R1 tariff to coerce me to rather charge at night. I'm going to sit at 18 cents a kilometer, and I will do it. So you don't need to, and I think it's something I touched on earlier today before the meeting perhaps, we do not need to incentivize or subsidize people. We should just introduce clever tariffs and use our taxes wisely, the import taxes and duties, the apparelums and that. And we will immediately stimulate the market with that.
Wonderful, interesting. Colleagues, you don't have questions for this? I thought you were going to start to put orders for EVs. I mean, at 42 cents per kilometer, I think maybe I actually use 3 Rand something. You know, the excitement of buying these big cars, and you know, we're in trouble. But if there are any other questions, colleagues, and any comments, De Villiers, thank you very much, and we appreciate your presence always in this, because you always bring that national perspective. You know, you bring the industry perspective all in one, and much appreciated. We really value that. Thank you very much, Stein.
Thanks, Jay. I'll be short and sweet. We had our annual meeting at the SIE a while ago, and just realized that we've not been active at the Green Energy Forum. We thought that it would be good for us as electrical engineers in the district to rekindle that relationship again. We started back when the Green Energy Forum actually kicked off a number of years ago now. So yeah, so that's us attending again, but I do, us as a committee, feel that we should try to, as electrical engineers and as an institution, try to be more actively involved with industry. Also from being as a as an institute also be able to give advice where advice is sought. So yeah, that's hopefully we can fulfill that role. We also foresee that there's a big shortage of education or training within this field, not so much just the solar and or the technology training courses, but also then more specific courses on impact on the electrical grid, which is a little bit more complicated than the rest of the components. But so we hopefully will, within the next 12 months, we'll try to do 1 or 2 training courses within this field. But yes, it's nice to be here today and to hear all of the new initiatives. I think with the Eden District municipality have such a strong history on waste management, one will also then start to begin a program or maybe studies to look at the total life cycle cost of all of these interventions that we are seeking. You know, what will happen with all of the PV panels in 10, 15 years time at the waste site. So rather start those discussions now than wait for later. And that would be for all of the technology. So I think for us, then as electrical engineers, is obviously there's a lot of opportunity. And I can see within the industry is that most of the engineers that's working on grid connections, there's just too much work. Companies, as engineering fraternity, we can't keep up with all of the work out there with regards to the grid. And that's not just in South Africa, that's in the whole Southern Africa. So it is a booming market, but there is a big shortage of skill. And you know, I think that's the main aim with the institute, is trying to assist in the skill development. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Sten. I think, Reggie, when you presented, you forgot to indicate that we are under the skills maker. We are working on getting a database of retired engineers, different skills that can probably be utilized by the region, you know, in terms of sometimes you don't really, there are small things that you can quickly get assistance from, but there are a lot of people that are retired that don't want to be there for full time, but they can commit maybe an hour or 2 in a week to assist the region, you know, in trying to solve your infrastructure challenges, your skills transfer, all that. So I think we need to take up that and probably work on creating that database with different, you know, skill sets. Then the other thing, Sten, I don't know, how can you assist also engineers, electrical engineers in the region to probably get registered and all those things, if you can probably assist from your side, and also probably share with our municipalities the peoples that you have in the region that are under the institute, because it assists us also to check, you know, when we do some of this work, is this person that is being used registered, or probably if we want something that we want sign off and it's in the region, we can then just engage with you and say, we have this particular work that we think you can look for us, and then sign it off and all those things. Then we begin, you know, to utilize what is local available and not struggle. That also speed up things, you know, and assist the region. Maybe some of those things you guys might want to do it pro bono, which will be a benefit to the municipality, or maybe at a very much reduced cost, you know. But the bigger thing is that skills transfer and the utilization of the skills base that is there. I know a lot of engineers, doctors, they want to retire this side. So you have this, you know, wealth of experts that we are not really utilizing. And we appreciate that from your side. If you can assist us to, you know, push that, that would be greatly appreciated. Colleagues, I don't know, are there any other comments or questions to Stein? On the, you can tell me on the what you could virtual, maybe there might be some. If there are some, please let me. Yes, Raj.
Okay, yes, Chairperson, referring to your comment, yes, we've omitted to indicate that we have already started with the process of having a database of retired people. Part of our resolutions, the point 6, it reads that consider and leverage local skilled people, including retired people within the district, to accelerate the growth of the skills maker. So we've advertised. The response wasn't that great the first time around. We've got about 18 proposals back. So, but at least it's a start. The next phase will be that we maybe if we can have references when the person knows about the person sitting at home but wants to be involved, we can then have that process also. So thank you for that.
Thanks, Reggie. Another comment, colleagues? Questions? In the absence of that, I think we are now, if you can fly that agenda. All right. I was looking, somebody sent me a screenshot from a TV as we were sitting here. I know that item there, post-lockdown and vaccination, and we have been encouraging people also from the forum platform to say, please vaccinate. We want to open up the economy and that and that. I know yesterday there was a pronouncement that you must not wear masks. But today they said there's a monkeypox that has been identified, in South Africa, a case now. So I don't know whether we should wear masks or we should do it. But I just wanted to bring that to the attention of the meeting, and probably, I don't know, I'm not a health expert. The powers that be will probably give a direction in terms of what happens. But what we basically want to discuss on post-lockdown is how do we make sure that we revive the economy, we get the economy to be working again, how do we reduce the unemployment in the garden route, how do we make use of the little that we have to do more, that's the idea. Then we then go to item number 7, which is general. I don't know, colleagues, if there's anything else that you would probably like to see the forum doing or covering, or maybe some stakeholders that you think we should consider inviting, and this is the time where probably such suggestions or probably some topics that you think we need to include during the forum meetings, then we can probably take note of that, then consider that on the next agenda. My new friend, you don't want to add something? Good. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Julius, you wanted to say something? Okay. So it seems like probably we are still on the right track. We are still trying to go green. We have our guys from disaster management here. They are also very keen, when Gary was talking about climate change, climate resilience, and that. So we try to bring all the sectors that we think contribute, to this green vision that we want as a region. Tondo, what will be the date for the next meeting?
Yes, Chairperson, the date that we've allocated for the next meeting would be the 25th of August. Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you very much, colleagues. So our next meeting will be on the 25th of August. We will try to bring some more interesting, topics, some new presenters, so that at least. But if you know of anybody that you think can be very useful to present to this forum, please let us know. We are open. We even invite guys from Mpumalanga, from all over. We are very open, and we want to see a better society for all, So please feel free to just engage the secretariat. You can drop it and then say, hey, there's this technology. Can you consider these guys that they present this in the next forum meeting? Then we'll gladly afford them an opportunity to do so. In the absence of any other comments, Mr. Menzel, do you? All right. In the absence, he's my boss. I must always make sure that I don't I don't conclude before he makes the last comments. In the absence of any other comments, colleagues, I would like to thank you all for your attendance. It's much appreciated. Let's build a greener garden route together. I'm sure everybody would want to reflect some 10 years later and say, you know, I was part of those guys who were basically, you know, the think tank around this clean, smart city, green energy. We did this, you know. Sometime maybe you'll be sitting by the beach, you know, telling somebody else. It's a good feeling, I guess. Yeah, thank you very much. And we do have the finer things of this earth. Please don't leave, otherwise I'll be charged for wasteful expenditure. Just here, the door behind you, there. Please get in there and grab something. You can't think green when you're hungry. Eh? Thank you very much.
Please eat, guys. Please eat. Thank you, everyone. Have a nice one.
Chairperson, before you close, if you allow me, I'd like to kindly request that all the presentations that were done to be forwarded to myself so that I can distribute it to the rest of the members. Yes, and we also encourage that the survey be filled in as Reggie had presented to everyone. Thank you, Chair.
Very much, Tando. And when you send the presentation, can you include that link for the survey also? And the colleagues, when you get it, please just send it to other people that survey so that at least we capture as much information as possible that will assist us. Those who are joined virtually will eat on your behalf. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day.
Okay, goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.